Hi and greeting to our lecturers. Today, we would like to present our topic pension scheme, defined benefit versus defined contribution. So these are my group members.
My name is Muhammad Rifki Amsyah bin Khalid bin Walid and my matrix number is A194618.
My name is Norizwana binti Rizwan. My number matric is A195062.
Hi, my name is Ella Zafni binti Zakaria with matrix number A196403.
My name is Nur Aini Sofia binti Zulkifli. My matrix number is A196001.
My name is Nurdayana Batisha binti Jamali and my matrix number is A193294.
For introduction part, I will begin with what is DB and what is DC. First of all, both serve the same goal, which is securing financial stability after retirement, but they operate very differently. Right. For defined benefit DB schemes are traditional pension plans where retirees receive a fixed, guaranteed income after retirement. Who use them? In Malaysia, DB schemes are common for government employees and civil servants. Alright, how do retirees receive a guaranteed income? Retirees will receive a fixed, predictable income for life, calculated based on their final salary and their total years of service. The key advantage of DB schemes is the retirees bears no investment risk and the payout is guaranteed like a lifelong pension paycheck. In the other hand, defined contribution DC schemes is like a saving investment account, the modern approach to retirement savings. Retirement fund depend on two factors, which is total contributions from the employees and employers and investment growth. Like EPF will collect 11% from the employee's salary and 12% from the employers. In Malaysia, DC schemes dominate the private sector like EPF or private retirement schemes, PRS. Unlike DB, the final payout is not fixed. It grows like a saving account, but savings account with investment. Meaning returns and risks are shared. To put it simply, DB is like a fixed salary for life, predictable and secure. While DC is like growing your own retirement fund, flexible but market dependent. Alright, next we move to the issue. Malaysia's two main pension system, defined benefit and defined contributions, are both struggling, but in very different ways. Let's uncover why. For civil servants, DB schemes promise a fixed income after retirement, like I said before, but the problem is government pensions, DB, are under pressure because people live longer and costs keep going up, which might force benefit cuts in the future. On the other hand, private savings plan like EPF or PRS, DC schemes rely on people's contributions and their investments. But many end up short because they don't save enough, withdraw too early, or get hit by market crash or market ups and downs. Shockingly, based on Khazanah Research Institute, over 90% of young EPF members don't have enough saved for their retirement.
Now, I will talk about factors of the problem from the issue. Today, pension schemes face growing challenges, particularly from rising life expectancy and inflation. These two factors are putting pressure on both defined benefit DB and defined contribution DC systems, leading to a growing issue of insufficient retirement funds. Firstly, rising life expectancy means retirees are living longer and therefore need income for more years. For DB schemes, this increases the burden on pension providers as they must pay fixed benefits for longer periods, often resulting in underfunding if the initial assumptions were too optimistic. In these schemes, the responsibility shifts to the individual, who may risk outliving their savings if they do not plan for longevity or purchase annuities. Secondly, inflation reduces the real value of retirement income over time. for DB pensioners, especially for those with non-index benefits. Inflation erodes purchasing power. In DC schemes, inflation impacts both the savings accumulated during the working years and the withdrawals made during retirement, particularly if investments are conservative. This often leads to inaccurate financial forecasting and underfunded retirement. So what is the solution? I can conclude that to protect future retires, pension systems must improve their retirement planning tools, risk-sharing mechanisms, and also inflation protection strategies.
Next, I'll be talking about the impact of insufficient fund on two main types of pension system, defined benefit and defined contribution. Let's start with DB pensions. In DB pension, the government promises to pay workers' pension after they retire, but when there is not enough money in the system, the pension liabilities or the amount the government needs to pay in pensions become higher than the money available to cover it. This causes a big financial problem. The government ends up having trouble keeping up with these promises, especially as people live longer. This situation puts a lot of pressure on government's budget. More and more money has to be spent on pensions, which leave less money for important things like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. If nothing changes, the country could face serious financial issues in the future because of this growing pension debt. Now, let's talk about DC pensions. In DC pension, people save money in their pension account during their working years, but if they don't have enough saved, they could struggle when they retire. They might not have enough money to cover basic things like food, medical bills, or housing. This can lead to a lot of stress and make life harder for them. According to the data from the Employees Provident Fund (EPF), about 80% of Malaysians don't have enough savings by the time they turn 55. This makes it hard for them to retire without worry. The impact isn't just on retires. It also affects their family and the economy. Some retires may have to keep working even after retirement or rely on government help to get by.
So, based on the issue, the approach taken by the pensioners to make the pension fund is sufficient to the pension recipients are change DB scheme to DC scheme, create 3 EPF saving accounts, and create deferred annuity scheme retirement plan. One of the most major reform made by Malaysia in response to the funding issue is by changing DB scheme to DC scheme. Existing permanent civil servants' pensionable status will not be affected, but the new civil servant will make contribution to the EPF to reduce the financial strain on KWAP. This approach will transfer investment and longevity risk to the individual, thus balances the country's fiscal position. Secondly, EPF created 3 saving accounts as an approach to sustain the retirement fund. The investment amount will be contributed to 3 different accounts, which are 75% into retirement accounts, 15% into well-being account, and 10% into flexible accounts. They introduce flexible accounts which investors can claim anytime, subject to terms and conditions to reduce premature withdrawal from retirement fund. Lastly, in 2000, EPF introduced a deferred annuity scheme retirement plan called the EPF Conventional Annuity Scheme and EPF Islamic Annuity Scheme, which was meant to give members monthly income after retirement. However, it was later stopped because the members were not protected from investment risks and could lose their savings. Since then, EPF has taken other steps to help members manage their savings better. Instead of allowing members to withdraw all their money at lump sum at age 55, EPF now encourage members to take their money out in stages like monthly or every few months so that their money lasts longer. The actual knowledge that has been used by the KWAP, EPF and other pensioners regarding this issue is actuarial valuation. Actuarial valuation can calculate the present value of future pension obligation based on the current expected data like retirement age, monthly salary, life expectancy and inflation. It helps determine whether the fund is financially healthy or additional contributions are needed to maintain the sustainability of the fund. Besides calculating the present value, scenario testing is also needed to test how the pension fund will perform under different future situations. Parameters such as investment returns, salary increment, life expectancy, and inflation are changing over time. This helps to calculate the present value under certain assumptions, like what happened to the present value of future benefit if investment returns are lower than expected, if people live longer than expected, or if current salary increases. Thus, the pensioners can identify risks early and plan for possible financial shortfalls before they happen. In addition, asset liability matching (ALM) also has been used to reduce the liquidation risk of a portfolio by making sure dividends, interest, and asset sales align with expected payment. In this issue, ALM is used to make sure the pension fund is sufficient by properly aligning the pension fund's investment with its future payment obligation. By purchasing the right type of security that can maximize the return and be available at the right time to pay the retires, pensioners can avoid the risk of insufficient funds in the future.
So next, I would like to recommend several recommendations to address the ongoing issues in our retirement system, particularly in the defined benefit and defined contribution scheme. So the challenge we face today is the issue of insufficient retirement funds under the DB scheme. The risk lies with the employer or government, where long-term pension obligation can become unsustainable, especially if they fail to consider rising life expectancy and increasing medical costs. So in Malaysia, this pressure is growing, particularly for public sector pension. So meanwhile, for the DC scheme, it shift risk to individual. So many retirees end up with inadequate funds due to low contribution, early withdrawal, and poor investment decision. To improve the defined benefit system, we recommend gradually increasing the retirement age in line with rising life expectancy. So this means longer contribution period, shorter payout periods, and greater fund sustainability. So it also helps maintain a larger active workforce, which is critical for Malaysia's aging population. Countries like Japan, Germany, and Singapore have already implemented this strategy by raising their retirement age beyond 65. Older workers, they can be supported through retraining, adapted job tasks, and workplace modification to help them stay productive and contribute to the economy. While to strengthen the DC scheme in Malaysia, we propose introducing a national annuity system like Singapore's CPF Life, which it provides flexible payment options and inflation protection with low admin costs. So on top of that, based on Australia experience, the government can offer financial incentive for contributors to choose lifetime annuities, ensuring stable retirement income and preventing saving from becoming inherited assets too soon. It also important to diversify annuity options such as inflation link, deferred annuity, or nominee based annuity, and keep the premiums affordable. And lastly, we strongly suggest implementing a nationwide financial literacy campaign so that we can increase understanding of annuities as a reliable long-term income tool. So these combined strategies can help us achieve a more balanced and sustainable retirement system, both for the government and for our future retirees. To conclude, the DB scheme offers stable, guaranteed benefit but face serious underfunding risks, especially with rising life expectancy and growing government burden. Meanwhile, for the DC schemes like Malaysia's EPF, offer more flexibility but often lead to inadequate savings due to early withdrawals, low contribution, and market rate. So, we know that both systems are under pressure from aging population and inflation. So that we know policy reforms are very essential in these issues. Thank you.